Hello and welcome to the Goldman Fantasy Football League, where we dive into the intrigue and the drama of the Goldman Fantasy League. We'll be discussing some football as well, but the real stories will obviously lead the show. But before we get started, I would like to thank one of our sponsors, Roman Swipes. It's convenient over-the-counter wipes, clinically proven to help you last longer in bed. Just apply Roman Swipes to the most sensitive parts of your penis, wait 5 minutes to dry, and you're ready to go. Thank you, Roman Swipes. Oh, my producer's telling me we're going to read a review of Roman Swipes, so let me pull that up really quick. Okay, perfect. Allie from Chicago, 5 out of 5 stars. Okay. My boyfriend Matthew could never get hard and never last in bed. It was becoming a huge divide in our relationship. I thought he wasn't finding me attractive. But after we tried Roman Swipes, even after a night out, I'm talking a 6 a.m. if you know what I mean, he was able to get hard and last a while. I am so thankful for Roman Swipes. Thanks, Allie. Thanks for that review. I'm sure Roman Swipes appreciates the feedback. Great product, great product. I've never used it myself. I've never had those issues, but I know people. All right, now let's talk a little bit of what this podcast will be about. I'm Brendan, obviously, owner of Rachel Mandel Scarf. This podcast is going to take place every week. We're going to have some guests, God willing, and we're just going to talk about the drama of the league, some players to look out for, some waiver wire pickups, everything you would get from a normal fantasy football league. We're going to discuss a little bit of the rules, some of the punishments, some of the banter, and maybe even take a look at that Goldman Instagram page every once in a while. As for the first episode, we are going to be looking team by team and sort of give them our thoughts. I'm going to sort of be unbiased when it comes to my team. Very few words what I will say. I'll talk a little bit of the highs and lows, but let's get started. No more wasting some time, but let's just go to the Fantasy Football League, start from the top. Not in my power rankings order, but just in the order the website provides. We're going to start with the Squished Bees. Owner is Dan Uriel. He's the former commissioner of the league. He's created what hopes to be the start of a long-lasting league that goes for centuries, and we pass down to our kids, maybe, who knows. But let's take a look at his team. Okay, so first thing I noticed from his team is he has 3 quarterbacks: Ryan Fitzpatrick, Tua Tagovailoa, and Justin Fields. And when you have 3 quarterbacks, you'd hope one of them's good, and he's got no one that's good. I mean, maybe Justin Fields be good, but I'm not as optimistic as some people. So he might have to, pick up some other rookie quarterbacks or just sort of survive the first couple of weeks until Justin Fields is the starter, because right now he is not in a very good spot with the quarterback position. When it comes to his running backs, I do love Dalvin Cook. I think he was arguably the second best in the draft, and I would have maybe picked him first. He's reliable. He's gotten past some injury bugs in the past, but overall, Dalvin Cook's a really good pick. And James Robinson with Travis Etienne out for the year now. He's going to get a lot more touches. Look for him to be more active in the passing game this year with Trevor Lawrence behind center. So I really like his 2 running backs. When it comes to his wide receivers, he's got Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, and Odell in the starting positions. And I do like them. Keenan Allen's as reliable as it gets. Tyler Lockett was a bit hit and miss last year. He'd go for a 40-point game, go for a 0-point game. It'd be pretty random. Odell, you just don't know what you're getting with him. You hope that he's going to be reliable, but if not, you still have a solid bench wide receiver in Corey Davis, who's obviously got Zach Wilson as behind center, so that could be a dynamic offense. And his tight end depth is great. If you're not going to have one of the top guys, at least have 2 middle of the pack guys. He's got Logan Thomas and Tyler Higbee. Higbee's got a chance to pick up some steam with Matt Stafford under center. You saw what TJ Hawkinson did last year with Matt Stafford being the quarterback. So a lot can change, a lot of different offenses. And, we're not going to talk about defense or kicker because who the hell knows. His bench, he's deep at running back. He's got a lot of good players. If someone goes down, they'll get majority of the touches. But overall, I'm not too high on the squish bees, but you never know. Let's go to the next team. So second we're going to have is Tribeca Big Mike. And taking a look at his team, you just know he's going to put together a solid roster. And that's exactly what he did. You start looking down the roster and you're like, how did he get all these guys lined up? He's got a potential breakout in QB in Justin Herbert. He has two very reliable running backs in Joe Mixon and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm really happy with, I'd be really happy if I were him on the amount of depth I have at every position. I think he's really looking to put together a strong season this year. The only question mark I have is a few of his wide receivers. Are they going to be reliable, or is he going to be switching them out in week 4? Because, we saw Juju Smith-Schuster doing the no crate challenge. He's always going to be up to some random hijinks. Brandon Cooks has nobody thrown to him. So, I think if he's going to have a downfall, it's going to be his wide receivers not putting up 20 to 25, instead putting up 10 to 15. And obviously Travis Kelce, the number 1 tight end in the league. So he should be good on there. His bench, nothing much to say. Running backs, I don't necessarily love Carlos Hyde or Latavius Murray, but he's got Kenyon Drake. And maybe Devontae Parker will step above the rest when it comes to Miami wide receivers, because there is a whole lot of them. But overall, I'm loving Tribeca Big Mike's team. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. Next on the list is my team. We're going to skip over that. We're going to go to Team Push a Train right now. And Team Push a Train, he's always going to be a threat in this league. But looking at his team right now, it's a lot of maybes. I have my doubts on Saquon Barkley. I have my doubts on Dak Prescott. Nick Chubb's going to be sharing a lot of the load with Kareem Hunt, I have a feeling. So, and anytime you're running through running backs, I have a little bit of a problem, because that brings into question your wide receiver depth. But he's got two very solid wide receivers in Robert Woods and Brandon Ayuk. It's going to be an interesting team. If all the pieces fall into place, I can see him being a very good team. But there's a lot of injury questions. There's a lot of unknowns when it comes to who's going to be throwing the football to their wide receivers, and how many points they're going to put up on a week-to-week basis. I hope that Team Push a Train can be solid in that regard. But, I don't know how many guys he's going to have putting up 25 a game with this lineup right now. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Next, we got Team KK. Obviously owned by Kevin Kukler. It's a little lacking on the name, but, I'm not one to talk with my name. But looking at Team Kukler's team, there's a lot to be happy about. He's obviously got a top 20 quarterback in the league in Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully Aaron Rodgers can put some nice throws together and prove why he's a top 20 quarterback this year. And then he's got Zeke Elliott, who's been looking great on Hard Knocks, but you never can trust Hard Knocks these days. And then when it comes to his receivers, I think he's got 3 guys that are going to catch touchdowns and catch a lot of them. with DK, Mike Evans, and T. Higgins. T. Higgins looks like he's going to get a lot more touches. In fact, with Jamar Chase sort of having a rough preseason, but time will tell with all of these guys as well. I love his running back depth. If Miles Sanders doesn't perform, I think Javonte Williams has a shot to get a lot of the first team reps. I think James White's always going to be a force out of the backfield, catching a lot of balls. So, he's got a chance to really make a big impact on this year. In his one weak spot, I'd say if he has one, is the tight end position, because Aaron Rodgers and tight ends don't usually go together very well. All right, next team on the list, we got Big Dig Energy. Okay, so we got Brandon Vavra running this team, and he is a man that has sort of hitched his bandwagon to the Buffalo Bills. And by looking at his team, he has not a single Buffalo Bill player. Begs the question, does he stand for anything? It's really laughable that a man has the opportunity to pick Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs, and he lets him pass. So I think they're going to have a lot to prove this year, come out against Brandon's team pretty hot. But, you look at Brandon's team, they don't have the flash. They don't have the sizzle that a lot of other teams do. I mean, looking at the names, the biggest name on the list is Chris Godwin. So he's got a little bit of a problem there, but fantasy is not built on name recognition. It's built on, putting up points when it matters. And I think his team's got a shot at that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to be relying on Chris Godwin and Cooper Kupp, because they have a lot of other options on their team. So they could have a lot of off games, but overall his team's solid, good depth, good interchangeability. I think he's got a shot to be better than last year, which is a plus, and that's all you can really ask for in this league. All right, next we got Team Hudson. We all know the drama and controversy around Team Hudson, last place in the league last year. And this year he's just looking to not repeat the same mistakes as last year, and looking like he put together a team that is capable of doing that. Najee Harris and David Montgomery, solid 1-2 punch. They're going to get you points week in, week out. Josh Allen, big arm, very solid player. It's nice to get one of the top QBs this year, because I think they're going to be some big numbers. And then when it comes to the wide receiver, if you got a Tyreek Hill, what else really matters? He could put up 40 in a week. And then he's relying on some guys that are improving. Jerry Jeudy had a tough year last year, a lot of drops, but a new quarterback. So I'm sure he'll increase his numbers. Jalen Waddle, he's one of many in Miami. And Kyle Pitts, how are they going to use them in that Atlanta offense? Yeah, just a lot of questions to ask, a lot of questions. I'm not expecting big things, but I think he set himself on better pace this year. That's for sure. Next team, we got Benzotron FC, and oh boy. This team has what I like to call a lot of star power. You'd think an owner like Matt Benz would, shy away from just picking the next guy up on ESPN's list, and try to be a little bit more strategic in his drafting, but to each their own. He's got Patrick Mahomes and Christian McCaffrey. Patrick Mahomes was a reach in the draft. There's a lot of guys that are going to be putting up similar numbers to Patrick Mahomes. He still might end up being the number one guy, but where he got him, PU. So PM and Christian McCaffrey, those are great. Solid 1-2. And then boy, oh boy, does it take a drop off. AJ Brown, good, solid number one, but this year they got Julio Jones, and they're still going to probably give Derrick Henry 20 to 25 touches a game. So how many points is he going to get? You got Deontay Johnson, one of three Pittsburgh wide receivers, probably the third on the depth chart, behind Claypool and Juju. So he's probably not going to get you much. Mike Gesicki has a quarterback we don't know what he's going to do. Devontae Smith, he's got Jalen Hurts thrown to him, but rookie, unproven, and it usually takes the rookies some time to get going in this league, unless they're one of the few greats. When it comes to his bench, nothing flashy, nothing to write home about. You think Benz would know the value of a bench player. Whenever he was in athletic events, he usually was on the bench, so you would know. But he's confident in Will Fuller somehow. I don't necessarily know if having Will Fuller is going to be the game changer he expects, but good luck, Benz. I don't really see your team doing much at all. Then we got Team Stegner. Pretty original name, I'd say. Maybe get a little creative, but whatever. Okay, so looking at his team, the first thing that popped out was he's got Chase Claypool on his bench. Looking at that, I just feel very confident in how his team's going to perform. And if you have that type of wide receiver depth early in the season, a lot else can be thrown out the window. Some of the scores in week ones are low. Running backs not getting the amount of touches you expect, tight ends not being involved in the offense. So when you have wide receivers that just get touches no matter what, they can really help the team. Looking at his team right now, easily the best team I've looked at so far. And that's no shade on some of these other teams, but I hope that his team does what it's capable of, because I think that'll raise the level of competition quite a bit in this league. Good luck to Team Stegner. I suggest a name change, and now we have one of the most controversial owners in the league, always stirring up drama. We have Matt Walsh, and boy, oh boy, is his team by far the worst team in the league. I have never seen a more putrid display of a draft in my entire life. And, this Matthew kid, he's a good kid. Love him to death. But some of these players are just not the type you need to win fantasy football. I mean, Lamar Jackson, he's a solid player. Solid player. One of the top 10 QBs. But when you look around the league, everyone has a solid QB, So then you got two running backs. Jonathan Taylor, solid number one. Solid, but not the upper echelon of number ones. He's not going to give you 25, 30. He's not going to have these pop-off games. He's got Nyheim Hines, who gets a lot of the touches out of the backfield and receiving. Mike Davis, we just don't know. I personally think your situation doesn't necessarily equate to points. He's going to be the number one guy, but is he a good running back? I don't necessarily think so. His two wide receivers had good years. It's going to be interesting to see if they can build on that. Calvin Ridley and Terry McLaurin, that is. I'm not sold on Terry, who he's got thrown to him. It could be Ryan, it could be Taylor Hinkie, it could be a number of different guys. Calvin Ridley, he's going to be great, but who knows? Michael Gallup is the third best wide receiver on Dallas. Having a third guy in your flex spot's not necessarily my favorite thing, but if Dak's lightening up like he usually does, it can change a lot of things. And then when you look at the rest of his team, he's got Mark Andrews, very solid tight end, but there's nothing. There's nothing there. You almost want to puke. I mean, how he picked this team is beyond me. He must have been distracted, long days at the office, photoshopping random images, because boy, oh boy, he better get studying on the math portion of the ACT, because it seems as if he will be there this time next year. Good luck to you, Matt. Team S, another very lackluster name. Personally, I would like a little variety in the team names, but Who knows? Okay, looking at Sean's team, he's got the wide receivers that are gonna carry him to the promised land with Devontae and Stephon. I like it. I like it a lot. And there's a no running back strategy where you don't draft running backs until later rounds or your first two picks at least. And I think he played that to perfection. I think Josh Jacobs, people were scared off because Booker and Kenyon Drake, I mean, not Booker, Kenyon Drake will get a few touches. DeAndre Swift, you just don't know how often the Lions can be running it. I think those two are solid. They're going to get you some points, and they're going to let the big dogs do their thing. And then Russell Wilson, obviously, I think he's got a lot to prove this year. So Team Sean is another very dangerous team. Probably, if I had to make a rankings to start, which I'm not, he'd be number 2. And very close to number 1. I'd have to take a much deeper look. But you can say all you want about Sean Farrell, the person. He's no good. He's a douche. He's just living with people to sort of give an image of wealth. He's got very bad character traits. He's, you could say all that. And I would agree because, he's not good at video games. I could go on all day. This man is the worst of the worst, but he drafted a good fantasy football team. And finally, I should say, we are going to touch upon my team at the very end, but last other team is Alvin and the Chipmunks. Great name. Really just encapsulates the culture of fantasy football. Just fun names, just different sort of intrigue to the game. And I do like his profile picture. It's Kerry Russell's character from Rise of Skywalker. I'm sure that's a deep cut that some of you don't really care about. Looking at his team, solid team, very solid team. Wow. I'd be ecstatic if I was the Chipmunks. He's got Derrick Henry, a workhorse, going to put up huge numbers. Could be top 1-2 running backs this year. He's got Matthew Stafford, who's a lot to prove. He's going to be slinging it left and right, especially with a lackluster run game. He's got top wide receivers and D-Hop, A-Rob, and Thielen. This is great. This is what it's all about. I don't necessarily love having 3 QBs on the roster. I think there's some other, especially earlier in the year, you can get some wide receivers that might have breakout years and you had them on your bench. But he's looking good. And I think last year was a testament to how serious Rory took it, planning trades, just thinking ahead, really working the waiver wire. I'm really happy with how his team turned out, and I'm happy for him. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, definitely in the playoffs when it comes to December. And now, last but not least, Rachel Maddow's team. Obviously, he's going to get Brady. I love Brady. Always have, always will. I think I got positions that I really like to be solid in. Tight end, George Kittle. I got a number 1 wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb, and I got a number 1 running back. Spread the wealth a little in each of my picks. I think I got a chance in Antonio Brown to have a breakout year, Michael Carter to have breakout years, and that could really solidify the roster. I'm not predicting playoffs, but I'm definitely not going to be fighting for last place. Even if injuries go poorly, I still think I have enough pieces to fill out the roster. Well, that concludes the first look at the league. I think we're going to have a real fun year. I think it's really going to increase the bond we have with our friends, just add a little pizzazz, and hopefully there can be no complaints, no drama, but I think we all know there will be. But when it comes to the end of the day, I wish everyone the best of luck. Next week, we're going to have a little bit more structured of a podcast, talk a little bit more about the matchups. It won't probably go on as long as it did. But I look forward to seeing all you guys in our week-to-week matchups. Godspeed.